president's policies have simply failed the American people.
Right now, showdown. Romney says the president's policies have failed the American public, but is it really all the president's fault, or can some of the blame be pointed at dysfunctional D.C.? We'll get into that. And next,
the two other parts of the trip, the one in Israel and Poland, were a triumph.
Was Romney's trip to the Holy Land a triumph, as some have said here? And will his criticisms of Obama's Israeli policy have an impact come November? We're going to speak with a congressman who's been a long-standing ally of Israel for his take. And later,
we're going to win.
As usual, a man of few words, or maybe many words, but always to the point. Chris Christie thinks he's going to win the battle over sports betting. The state of New Jersey being sued over its plan to allow the practice in the Garden State. And when you want to know who's going against them, try every sports league there is. Is it a good or a bad bet for Jersey? We'll get into it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thanks so much for joining us this Wednesday evening, August 8th. A lot to cover in the next 60 minutes, but we'll start with politics. Campaign 2012, also Israeli politics, sports betting, so much more. Tonight, we ask you at home to sound off, be a part of the program. Interactive as always, 38766-2428 is our toll-free number. We'll be asking a little bit later in the program our question about the sports betting when it comes to New Jersey. Should states be in the business of gambling? It'll bring in money, but at what cost? We'll get to your phone calls. That again, as well as some of your online comments later in the program. But let's begin with some politics here. And listen, one of the big headlines this week has been the numbers. I'm not talking poll numbers, which have looked pretty good for the president as of recent, but also fundraising numbers. President outraised for the third month in a row by Mitt Romney. The Romney campaign raised more than $100 million in July, topping the Obama campaign's $75 million. And the Obama campaign isn't being shy about telling everybody they're short the green stuff. They're making it look like they're nervous, and they say for good reason. If you've been on their distribution list, you might have noticed emails like this one saying, quote, "We're being outraised, and if we don't step up, we're in trouble." Portrays the 2012 campaign as a real David and Goliath race, with the Obama campaign as a proverbial David, the campaign of small donors versus the Goliath Romney campaign with those mega donors writing huge checks. Now, as the president traveled to Connecticut for two high-priced fundraisers early this week, some donors expressed unease at the situation, and one longtime Obama donor put it the following way, quote, "I keep telling people we need to step it up. Now is the time, not 2 months from now. We cannot be complacent." So again, we're going to start off our first question. If it's good politics to scare here the base, or does it project weakness? And to get into this, let's bring in our panel. Ed Till, radio talk show host. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Congressman Eliot Engel, Democrat of New York, and our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. All right, I'll come right to you, Congressman. You've been bombarded like these emails like we have here between Joe Biden or the president or some surrogate saying, please, 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 come here with hat in hand. We need the money. We're getting killed. Is it smart? Or are they saying to everybody that they were really in deep trouble here, projecting weakness?
No, I think it's smart. I think the Obama campaign depends on small donors. I think that there was great enthusiasm 4 years ago, which propelled Barack Obama to the presidency, and they want to generate that kind of enthusiasm. And the way you do it is you make everyone feel like they're an important part of it, even the person who can only give $5 or $3 or $10. And I think that's actually very, very smart. You know, I get those emails too. They have me on a list. They don't know who I am. And we're on a first-name basis. I showed it to my wife. They said, look at this. The president and I are on a first-name basis. He signs all these things saying Barack, you know.
Hey, he always knows you from the State of the Union.
Well, that's
Don't kid
true.
yourself here. Now, let me ask you, though, is there substance to it? Should the Obama campaign be nervous about the money? It's only August, but they kind of did a front-loaded strategy where right after the Republican primaries, he started canvassing here with ads here. They were spending real money. The thinking is the last 90 days, Romney not only is going to have deeper pockets with what he's raised, but all the third-party money through courtesy of Citizens United, that hasn't really been thrown out here full force. he could be outspent in a big way. Is that a real legitimate concern here for the party?
Well, it is a concern, and of course our politics has turned into a disaster with Citizens United. In my opinion, one of the worst Supreme Court decisions in the history of the Republic of the United States. We have all this big money coming in, and we thought it was big before, but now you have all these corporations and these billionaires trying to essentially buy elections. But you know, the Obama people are doing one thing that's very, very smart. And as a Democrat, we always lament that the Republicans always seem to outmaneuver us. But what Obama's doing this time is very smart. He's defining Mitt Romney before Mitt Romney has a chance to define himself. And a lot of the money that the Obama people are spending on these ads really defines Mitt Romney. You only have to take the words out of the Republican challengers to Mitt Romney for the nomination, whether it's Rick Santorum or Newt Gingrich or any of those people, to talk about.
So you don't think the idea of making Boehner in his tax returns issue 1 and 2 is bad? You think it was smart politics?
I think it's very smart, and I think the fact that Mitt Romney hasn't released his taxes tells you he hasn't paid any taxes.
Well, we're going to get into that with what the Senate Majority Leader also had to say, but the next topic is the attitude in Washington that you know very well. Recently, Representative Richard Hanna, Republican in the New York delegation, he called out his own party for being too extreme, saying, quote, "I'm frustrated by how much we, and I mean we, the Republican Party, are willing to give deferential treatment to our extremes in this moment of history. We render ourselves incapable of governing when all we do is take severe sides." All right, and I'll start with you, then I'll come around the table. Obviously, you're going to agree with what he had to say, but just how bad is it right now? Because the public's opinion of the body of which you've called home for many a year right now is very, very low. They don't think you guys do much of anything. They think you can't agree on, what day of the week it is, let alone policy. And to say it's dysfunctional would put it politely. A, is the public right, and why is it so bad?
Well, I would say that this is the worst time in my years in Congress, and it's bad because the Republican leadership has decided that they're going to frankly be extreme. You can meet the opposition in the middle if you're willing to come to the middle, but they're so far off the charts. I mean, the full faith and credit of the United States almost blew up, and we were downgraded by Standard & Poor's because they didn't really care about the national debt or raising the roof for debt ceiling, and so they just don't want to talk. I've never quite seen anything like it, and I almost feel sorry for John Boehner because I think he would like to talk.
Yeah.
Well, almost, but he is really held captive by the Tea Party wing of his party, who don't believe in compromising, who think it's my way or the highway, and we're not working. I mean, we just adjourned for a 5-week recess.
A lot of important stuff on the table.
A lot of important stuff on the table. And the past weeks, we haven't been doing it at all. We've been passing essentially one House bills, which are going nowhere in the Senate, just so the Republicans can message, their ultra-extreme right-wing agenda.
Andrew, not because you're sitting here, I happen to agree with him, but the general public, do you think they make the distinction between the ineptness that's going on there on one party, or do they say a pox on both their houses because they can't get anything done? Do they make the distinction, you think, between the parties?
I think there's a lot of pox on both houses where it's just Washington itself is the problem without making the finer point distinctions. And there's also a lot of this that I've seen ancillary blame for President Obama in all this, saying, other presidents have had to face split Congresses and have been able to unite or at least get enough momentum behind them that they can get stuff done even in a divided Congress. Look at Ronald Reagan, for example, and the work that he did with Tip O'Neill. So there's actually some blowback against the president for this, which I'm not entirely sure is
Well, how about that,
fair.
Don? Because people said, hey, for the first couple of years, this president had, Democratic House, Democratic Senate. He chose to use his political capital on health care, but he could have gotten other stuff done. He can't blame the Republicans for his whole first term. Is that a fair criticism?
I don't know. I really don't. What I can tell you is that, as we all know at this table, and certainly the congressman knows best, partisan politics have been around for a very long time. But I frankly feel that the election of this particular president drove the right insane, drove conservatives and Tea Party folks insane. And I don't think President Reagan had to deal with such extremes.
No.
And I think that this president has faced a situation, and Democrats as well, that first time in history. And what I'm afraid of, the Democrats, no offense, Congressman, they're not going to forget this. As soon as they have full leadership and majority, it's going to be payback time. So then when does it stop, Richard? When will the two parties stop and start working on behalf of the American people?
I don't know the answer to that, do you?
Well, I don't remember a time they have. I'm thinking back all the way to the Kennedy administration up until right now. This kind of vigorous debate where it gets personal and it gets tough, this is what America thrives on. The folks that are frightening everyone in the Tea Party are citizen legislators. God forbid the people who are not professional politicians come to Washington, want to get in the face of professional politicians and go, no. Absolutely.
Ed,
no.
I respect
My
that.
way or the highway
Ed,
was
I get
Obamacare.
that, but here's my
Yeah.
one distinction. You're right. In a lot of cases, they take pride in the fact that they haven't gone through the normal steps and the normal processes to get to Washington. But it almost seems like consequences be damned. That, hey, just like the congressman said, full faith and credit. We'll default on our debts. Whatever happens, happens, but we want to make a point. Whatever falls out of us as a consequence, so be it. To me, that's always been dangerous. And I know Speaker Boehner, by the way, he saw how dangerous it was, and after the whole thing went down with it, he just went around him completely and basically issued an edict. There's a lot of concern that that wing isn't trying to drive to a deal. They're trying to drive to a principle or a point, and it's not in the best interest of the American public. Forget your politics.
But why isn't it seen as they're trying to move the debate? They just want to change the debate from being on the margins of where we've been headed to way back over here, where a lot of people in the heartland
How
feel
do
it
you
belongs.
move the debate when your attitude is my way or the highway?
Well, that was Obamacare. My way or the highway.
It's been
Old
everything.
people
It's been
yelling
everything.
and screaming all over the summer of 2009. And guess what happened to Grandma and Grandpa? It went down anyway.
Ed,
My
that's been-
way or the highway
Ed-
is an old American political tradition. When you have the bulldozer, you drive in.
Ed, that's been their position on everything. And you said since the Kennedy administration, we passed civil rights. We landed a man on the moon.
Yeah, we had Barry Goldwater in the
No,
60s.
but I'm saying the parties were able to come together when it needed to for the benefit of the country.
Doesn't
That's
that
not
go to the
happening.
White House? Isn't
That's
that the
not
White
happening
House's
right now.
job? The executive branch is supposed to
Well,
be
let
the
me
bridge and the
bring the
leader.
congressman on that.
Well-
And to that point, I know a lot of Democrats, forgetting just Republicans, said, hey, you know what? I hear what the president's had to say since the midterms in 2010. But between 08 and 10, as much as he tried to reach across the aisle and do everything else, at the end of the day, he could have gotten things through. He just didn't. And he had both the House and the Senate, and obviously the Oval Office, all under one-party rule.
Right, and George W. Bush had the House and the Senate for 6 of his 8 years under one-party rule, and we're still climbing out from the financial mess he left us in. I mean, yeah, the parties have disagreed from day one, and that's, I guess, healthy. But what I think makes this bunch, and by the way, they are polite. You know, it's not that they're mean people walking around and won't say hello to you. They'll say hello. They're just not interested in working with you.
So no one's slashing your tires.
No, no
Okay.
one's slashing your tires. But they are, in my estimation, so far out of the political mainstream that it's almost impossible to bargain with them because they won't listen to you. For instance, you know, right now we're fighting this whole tax problem. And I feel, and Democrats feel very strongly, that millionaires and billionaires don't need the Bush tax cuts, that we should have tax cuts for the middle class, for working people, for people who will take the money and put it right back in the economy. They are holding hostage the middle class tax cuts unless they get the Bush tax cuts for the millionaires and billionaires reinstated. To me, that's not the way you should be going. They talk about cut spending, and yet when you have this whole sequestration problem where defense spending is being cut, they then say, oh no, we didn't mean that. Well, you know, you can't have it both ways.
Well, let me ask in terms of having both ways. People have thought there's been a lot of cheap shots taken over questions of citizenship, of faith, of legitimacy when it's related to this president. Some people say the latest round of attacks coming from, of all people, the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, also crosses that line. Kind of what a colleague in the House of yours, Michelle Bachmann, with her McCarthyism routine, talking about Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's aide here and her Islamic Brotherhood ridiculous roots here that based off of the imagination. Some say that what Harry Reid said about the tax returns about one Mitt Romney are also crossing the line. Let's take a listen for the folks who haven't heard it.
If a person coming before this body wanted to be a cabinet officer, he couldn't be if he had he did the same refusal Mitt Romney does about tax returns. So
Old box.
the word's out that he hasn't paid any taxes for 10 years. Let him prove that he has paid taxes, because he hasn't.
Listen, basically what he's saying is you're guilty till proven innocent. Provide your returns, which he's not compelled to by law. Otherwise, we're going to assume you're a crook. Did he go too far?
No, I think that what he stated is what a lot of Americans are thinking. If Mitt Romney, he's under no obligation, you're right, to release his taxes, but if he wants to put to rest any suspicions or questions that people have, where the assumption is that he's used every tax loophole under the sun to not pay any taxes, he could simply just release his taxes for the past several years. Now, he has a right to refuse to do so, but people then have a right to suspect that he's hiding something.
Isn't that the same argument someone would say about kind of a show me your papers kind of argument? You know, that you can always just answer the questions, just prove you're not what we're alleging you are.
But you see, Richard, he's running for president of the United States. You know, I mean, it's a little different.
You guys agree it's a distinction with a difference?
There's a huge difference.
The congressman is on point. I don't understand what critics of the Senate Majority Leader
Well,
are
you
really,
sound
are really
Look,
saying.
First you say he's got a right to not release them. Then you bash him for exercising a right. When did the Democratic
Here's
Party
the
become
difference.
against
Here's
rights?
the difference,
Number
Ed.
one. Number two, it's not about his tax returns.
Really?
The country
Really?
is having a referendum on its leadership. This guy
So wait,
being a
so can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If Mr. Romney hasn't paid any taxes for
If.
10
There
for
you go.
10
Do you have a
years,
source? Do you have a
for
source
10
that can
wait,
prove
wait,
that?
wait,
You gotta
wait,
have a
wait,
source
wait,
like
wait,
Harry
wait.
Reid.
Americans are hungry, starving,
Right.
facing foreclosure,
Right.
evictions,
Right.
and if this fat cat, alleged fat cat,
Right.
hasn't paid
Alleged
taxes for
fat
10
cat.
for
Fat
10
cat.
years,
Yeah.
for 10 years, you think that's right?
Well, he went on camera and said he did.
Of
So now
course
you
he's
call
gonna-
it? No,
of
wait.
course
He
he's
would have to
gonna
be the
say-
liar.
of course he's gonna
Harry
say
Reid
that.
can't be the liar. I'm sure Romney has to be the liar. Rich people lie and
But
don't
Harry
deserve
Reid
tax
is not
breaks
running
and don't
for
deserve
president.
rights.
Mitt Romney is, and I think that's the difference.
And we know that he paid 13.9 in 2010 because he said so. That's my
Yeah,
source. Hang on, Ed.
yeah,
that's
but
my
we agree
that's
with
that's
investment income,
That's,
don't we? We're not
that's my
against
source.
that, are we?
And we're talking about the policies that a lot of people say unfairly benefit people who are incredibly
Well,
wealthy,
I'll just
like
only
Mitt
say
Romney.
this much.
It's a
Somebody's going to look brilliant out of this. Either Romney's guys are slow playing this and they know that he's got returns that are going to prove that he paid something substantial, or they're petrified to death and they know there's something bad in there, that there's the Swiss accounts, the Cayman accounts, and he was paying single digits in taxes. We're going to find out. I have a feeling nobody, I think we can agree, keeps a secret in Washington for too long. So between now and November, stay tuned. All right, we're going to take a break here. But when we come back, as we know, in Romney's not so excellent adventure, one of the stops was in the Holy Land. If you thought that the controversy over Romney's trip to Israel ended when he returned stateside, you would be wrong. He's got a new ad out that's slamming Obama for not being a strong enough ally to Israel, but some are calling it misleading. We're going to get into that, and we're very fortunate to be joined by Congressman Eliot Engel here, whose knowledge of the region few can top here. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us.